Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based here in the United Kingdom. And today's project is a mini album Monday, does what it says. And I've adapted this one from one I've seen on one of the German demonstrators' websites. I'll pop the link to that in my blog. And this is a really pretty mini album, perfect for adding photos, and it's quite a good size, so you can actually get quite largish photographs in here. And I've used the beautiful Butterfly Wishes stamp set and some of the Sear Silhouette paper, and you can see here this one has, although it's got the sort of reds and yellows really bright, it's got some beautiful purples and blues in it as well. So I've taken those colours as my inspiration. And obviously the butterfly theme as well. And you'll see this opens up, so you've got space for photographs, and then there's a little drop down as well. You can see the space on the back, so you can lift it up and then you can also pull that down as well. And space is there for, say, your photographs. Obviously you'd put your photographs in before you embellished as well. Okay, and a little belly band just to keep it closed. So I've used just the Butterfly Wishes stamp set, apart from for the sentiment, Life is a Beautiful Thing, which comes from the Colourful Seasons stamp set here, which is this one here. Great all round, literally 4 seasons stamp set. Okay, so when I did this project for my team and the other demonstrators that joined me, I actually created this blank version in paper just to give people an idea of the construction, so they could see how it all went together along with the measurements. And I also prepared for them, which is what I do for my classes, some crib sheets for cutting. This is to make sure you get the most out of your paper. So I did one for Blackberry Bliss for the album pieces and for the belly band, one for our Flirty Flamingo, and you can see you get good sized scraps left, one for Whisper White, less than half a sheet of Whisper White, and another one for the Rich Raspberry layers as well. So that way it just meant that people had got something that they could easily refer to, depending on whether they could follow the written instructions or the sample that I'd made. So let's crack on then. I've done some of the pre-cutting just to save some time, and I'm now going to crack on with the scoring. So let's crack on. So this is my Blackberry Bliss piece, and you can see that this is 10 by 29.5 centimetres, and this is going to be scored at 9, at 9.5, at 22.5. I'll take my post-it off, and at 23 centimetres. So that creates our main outer, and you'll want to obviously reinforce those with your bone folder, or at least you would if your bone folder was to hand. Okay, so I'll pop that to one side. We'll do some reinforcing in a moment when we get all the pieces done. The next piece that you want in Blackberry Bliss is this piece here. So this is 10 by 29.5, so by 27 even, and you are just going to score that at 9 and 18 centimetres, and that's going to create our little zigzag drop down like so. That's the piece that comes down. Then for the third piece of the album, I used a piece of Rich Raspberry. So this is 11 by 26 centimetres, and again scored at 9 and 18. And I deliberately left that third panel a little bit shorter, and the reason for that is because that's going to be our piece on the top, where we're going to add a little tab on the front here, and it just kept it nice and neat. So that's our basic construction. So you're going to have that out of the way for the moment. So your outer album piece, which I say is just reinforce those creases. So here's our outer album. We're then going to have our inner piece, which you can see fits on like so. And then we have our drop down to fit in there. Okay. So before we actually put that together, we're going to just want to add some of the layers of designer series paper to it as well. So pop your paper on first. Now with some of these you can gut them if you wanted to. I haven't, just for speed today. So this piece here is 9.5 by 12.5. And that just fits in the middle of this main panel here. Then, as I said, we're going to add this panel here. So when you've zigzagged it, just make sure that it opens this way with the shorter piece on the top. And then just centre that layer, like so. You can see here. Next I'm going to put a layer on my middle section. And this is 8.5 by 10.5, it just goes in here. And there's two pieces of that you want. You want one for the front and one for the back. So on the front, and other 8.5 by 10.5 centimetre piece. Onto the reverse. Then we can add our drop down on here as well. Again, just adding that in the middle there, like so. So you can see just all of these pieces then fold down to create our panels. So that's our main construction. What I'm going to do is actually use the Darling label punch to punch a couple of shapes. Now again, you can actually punch those out of the middle of some of your layers. So I've actually got a layer that's going to go on the inside up here. So I'm going to punch one out of there. Which means I can now add that in. There we go. So, and that has a layer of Whisper White on it. Whisper White, which is 9 by 8 centimetres. And that one I'm actually just going to pop just a dab on there because I may well do some stamping in a little bit. But that's where that piece is going to go. That could also be one of your layers if you wanted. It could be a photograph that you put on there. Hence, I may take that out and add my photograph. So, having cut one of these Darling labels, we're going to use one of them on here, down at the bottom, and the other one is going to go onto the side here. So all I'm going to do is just add some glue onto the back there, and then just line that up with the edge. So that'll then be covered by our layer. And I'm going to do the same with my other one. Again, just punch one out of one of your pieces. And that can go onto the bottom of this piece here. So again, same principle. You can trim this one down if you want to, just to take away a bit of the bulk. And again, just fold it up, because what you don't want to do is obviously end up with your tag hanging out the bottom. If you've got a different tab, actually I should have moved that across slightly. Okay, it's just going to show the side. Just want to move it in slightly so it's covered up by your layer. So that one is actually going to be for the front or the back here. So I'm going to add that in there now. see, I try to always make sure it's nice and as flat as possible when I'm adding my layer. Just helps line it up, which I haven't done a very good job of there. There we go. Okay, then I've got another 9.5 by 6 piece that goes on the inside. Okay, like so. So just pop that on the inside. And that has 2 pieces of DSP, which are 8 by 5.5. So I'm going to have, no, not that one. Sorry, 9 by 5.5, which is this one, which goes on the front and the back there. So there you go. You're going to have 2 pieces to add on. If you prefer a little bit more wiggle room, you've got a bit more time than I have on a video, then obviously quite easy to use wet glue, so use our Tombow for that, and that just means it gives you a little bit of opportunity to pop your layers in the right, with the right border. There we go. Okay, so you can see our album is really taking shape now. So we're going to put some Flirty Flamingo on next. So for these panels here, I've got some 8.5 by 6 centimetre pieces, and I've got 2 of those. So one of those is going onto the front. And the next one is actually going to go on the top here, but I'm going to stamp on it first. So I'll just keep that to one side for the moment for my stamping. I've got a piece of Whisper White, 2 pieces of Whisper White, which one of which I'm just going to use again as a matte. So I'm just going to pop that in there, and that would be where I would add a photograph, or I might add a little bit of journaling, so a little message to the recipient, or if it was for me, then I'd be adding, you know, my memory of a particular day. So that goes in there. So that's 8.5 by 6 centimetres. And then I've got a piece of, hopefully another piece of DSP, perhaps not. Okay, there we go. Oh yes, that was my 8 by 5.5 piece that's going to go in there. This one's actually a little bit blue, and I've cut it the other way, but never mind. There we go, just pop that like so. And again, you can add your photograph or a message on there that you could punch out. So you can see that we're starting to come together now. I need a layer for this piece here. So that's that piece is 10.5 by 8.5 centimetres. And again, you could add, I'm intending for this to be my layer for a photograph. That's probably completely off camera, apologies. Okay, I was just adding glue to the back of that, as you might have gathered. 10 by 8.5, okay. Obviously we can pop our photograph on there, some nice bit of journaling. So I think now we're almost ready to do some stamping. I've got another layer which is for this panel here. So this is a slightly narrower panel. So this is 10.5 by 7.5 centimetres. And again, that's just going to line up. And you see I've got my tab right on this one. I dropped it down very slightly. Okay, like so. And then I've got another piece exactly the same for the reverse of that piece as well. So again, 10.5 by 7.5. Like so. Okay, so let's crack on with some stamping. So there's our basic piece. I need my piece of rich raspberry for the front there. Just going to go on like so. Now, I will measure that for you because I can't remember what size that piece was. Okay. 9.5 by 8.5. Let's have a quick look. 9.5. Yep, by 8.5. Okay. So to go on the front there, we need a panel for our front top. We're going to have a piece for our belly band on the front as well. We then want a piece that I'm going to stamp for the inside, which is where I wanted to do some journaling. And then I had a piece of Flirty Flamingo as well. And then I'm going to use just a scrap of Whisper White for my butterflies and other embellishments. So I've taken the stamp set and mounted those up on blocks. And I'm going to start with my Flirty Flamingo panel as well. So my Flirty Flamingo panel, I really just very quickly stamped with the butterfly images. So I took my large butterfly and I stamped over with that. I then took my medium butterfly, and that's just self-coloured, you can see there. Then for my front panel, this one here, I took the long leaf image, and I think it was Rich Raspberry I used, but I'll be quite honest with you, I can't remember, so I'm going to quickly see how that stamps. Yeah. Lovely textured stamp, these ones here. I'm just going to come straight across with my image. I'm going to take my smaller butterfly, like so, just to give that sort of fluttering wings. Then I'm going to use my Blackberry Bliss to stamp my sentiment on there. Okay, so that's my panel. On this panel here, I'm going to take this flower. Now the great thing about this flower is we now have a punch that it works with. So it's not a perfect fit. There we go, just stamp down the edge there. And then on my belly band, I've just used the same image. And this time I'm actually going to do a stamped off Blackberry Bliss, just to show you that if you haven't got your Rich Raspberry, you can get something really effective using your Blackberry Bliss. And again, just repeat stamp those butterflies. So all that remains is to add those panels to my mini album and then create a belly band, which is just that strip of card folded round, and we're all done. So my panel for the front is going to go on here. My panel can go on the inside. This one goes on the top. You'll see just in there, just to give some, and on the reverse. And there we have our really pretty little mini album ready to make my belly band. And my belly band is just going to have this layer on the front of it as well before I run out of time. So there's my layer to go on the front, and I'm just going to score the belly band at 5.5, 6.3, 16.3 and 17.1. I will add that onto my blog just because I'm running out of time now, and my video will no doubt disappear in just a moment. I hope you've enjoyed watching it, albeit I didn't quite get the project finished, but as I said, Here we go. Here's the information. All the dimensions I'll pop on my blog as well. What I may do is do a downloadable PDF for you. But if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call. flutterbyheidi.co.uk. Pop along to my shop